learner Tien, thank you for joining us on the sit down here at Podlaver Arena.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You said it feels quite official to be in a podcast studio like this. How many podcasts have you done?
This is my second. I usually say no. So
Why do you say no, and why did you say yes to us?
I just felt this obligation to do it today. It just, I landed in a soft place in my heart, maybe.
We'll
that's
try and
very
make it
good
fun
news for
for you.
us. That's
Yeah.
excellent. Now, I believe you chatted to Viv in Brisbane. Is that right?
I did.
Do you remember the journalists and the reporters you speak to? You've remembered Viv.
I remember we went out on this terrace
On
at
the
this
balcony?
little high chair
Yeah.
table.
It was quite a strange table, and I was really busy that day. I was literally running from place to place, and I think I almost fell over as I was getting to you. So yeah, I probably made it quite memorable. I'm sure you went home and said, "Oh, I met this strange lady."
Well, this is the site of your Grand Slam breakthrough, obviously, when you made the fourth round at the Australian Open last year. So what's it like to be back at Melbourne Park?
Super special. I mean, I've had a tough one first round, so I'm glad I've kind of been able to work my way into the tournament a little bit. But just in general, being back, I mean, so many great memories. Crowd support has always been amazing here. People are just so into the tennis and they just really love it. So, I mean, it's super fun to play here, super special for me to come back for sure.
Seated at a Grand Slam for the first time here in Melbourne, what was the feeling? Is it sort of one of confidence, or do you feel any added pressure coming in with the seating?
I didn't feel any more pressure than usual. I came out for my first round match and I was very nervous actually once I stepped on court, which I didn't really expect. It was kind of just random. It just hit me during the match before, I went on court. I didn't really feel like super nervous, but I went on court and I was just kind of feeling very tense. So I think it was nice for me to get that one. My first time being seated, and I was overthinking it maybe a little bit more than I should have, but I'm glad I've kind of been able to get a couple matches.
Well, I guess you've returned to the third round now after you made the fourth round, so you seem to be managing the pressure quite well of that and defending points and all of that. How satisfying is it to kind of back up what you did in 2025?
Well, I guess I haven't fully backed it up yet.
Not quite, but I mean, you're well on your way to doing that.
Yeah. Obviously I'd love to back it up and, take it a step further if possible, but I try not to think about how I went last year. It's a new year. I don't really think of it as defending points. It's just, everyone basically starts at zero at the beginning of the year, and, it's a fresh start. So I'm kind of thinking of it that way instead of more, I need to defend all my points from last year.
What do you think of how does the Australian Open compare to other Grand Slams that you've played?
I mean, the energy is very lively. I mean, I feel like everyone is very welcoming. Everyone, the culture around sports here, everyone's so into it. And, there's so much energy at all these matches, whether you're on like a little side court or whether you're on a stadium. So I think it's really cool to come and play here. Every time I've been here, no matter what match it's been, even a seemingly irrelevant junior match, I feel like there's people watching and supporting. So it's very cool. At some of the other slams, obviously the feel of junior matches can be a little different. That's kind of what I remember. But obviously it's where I've had a lot of success and big breakthroughs. So it's always very cool to come and play here.
How much did the run in 2024 kind of shape your mindset or your confidence, or kind of set that season on the right track with such a great result here to begin the year? So 12 months ago.
Yeah. Gave me a lot of momentum to start the year for sure. Gave me a lot of confidence, which was great. I broke top 100 here, so that was a pretty big career milestone in general for me, just to start the year with that. The momentum died a little bit, towards the beginning of the summer. I had a little bit of ups and downs throughout the year, and I was able to finish out the year pretty strong, thankfully. But I think just in general, starting off the year with, such a big confidence boost is great. And the next few months especially, I really felt just that, I could go out there and I belonged. So that was really big for me.
Okay, sure. We wanted to know about how much you potentially look at a draw, at a Grand Slam draw, because it's very different. Some players are like, yep, I know everything. Others are like, I don't want to know who I'm playing. What kind of camp do you fall into?
I definitely look at the whole draw. It's just interesting to me, even, parts of the draw that are nowhere close to me. I still look, and, I look for certain matchups that I think are interesting. Obviously, I go into the tournament fully knowing that everything else besides my match is out of my control, and there's nothing I can do about that. So curiosity more is the reason I look through the draw. Draws open up, they change. Sometimes half the people that you think you're going to play don't even make it. So I take it with a grain of salt, and I check the draw, but I don't really think about it that much.
There was a reason we asked that, which you probably can anticipate, that it potentially could be you and Medvedev again in the fourth round. I know there's another match to play, but how cool would it be to kind of relive that match potentially? I know you actually played quite a few times in 2025, but it was the one here, the 5-set match late at night, that kind of announced you. There's a potential it could happen again quite soon. What do you think of that?
I think it'd be cool, but obviously one more match to get through. We both play pretty tough opponents, so it's hard to look that far ahead. So, I mean, I know he's over there, and I think it'd be pretty crazy to play him again this year. But I'm trying not to look that far ahead and just trying to focus on my next one.
That's fair.
You had so many milestones in your season last year, so including your performance here and getting to the fourth round, but you also won a title in Mets, the Next Gen Finals, and had lots of wins over big name players, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what was most satisfying for you?
I think winning a title was a big goal I wanted to achieve. It was a box I wanted to tick before I turned 20. So I wanted to win one as a teenager, and I did it in the last week of the year, which was my last tournament as a 19-year-old. So I was very happy to get that done. I definitely felt a little bit of the pressure that I was kind of putting on myself, I guess, to win. But, it was very special for me. Obviously, there have been tons of great players that have never been able to get a title. And, it doesn't make you any better or worse of a player, but it was very special to me to get my first.
And your top 10 record is 5-3 in the last since last year, I think it is. So that includes wins over Medvedev, Zverev, Rublev, Shelton, and Mazzetti. What is it? What is that? Are they the most satisfying wins for you?
Partially, yes. But on the other hand, I think the reason why I'm able to go out and play some of those matches is because I try to treat them like it's any other match, and that really helps me just to go out there and play, and I don't really think about who's on the other side of the court. Sometimes, in some of those bigger matches, it's hard to focus on yourself when you see some of those guys on the other side of the court. For example, I played Novak, and it was a bit tough to focus at first, honestly. It was crazy just to see him on the other side of the net. So I try to treat it like any other match. Obviously, at this level, anyone can really beat anyone. So I try to approach every match the same, whether I'm playing someone outside top 100 or someone in the top 10, and I think that's worked really well for me.
Another thing that's been really amazing about your rise so far has been your record in 5-set matches. And a lot of people talk about, it takes experience. A lot of veterans do well at 5-set tennis because it's so physical and because it's unusual that it's only at the slams. Why do you think, even as a teenager, you were able to kind of thrive in the 5-set format so quickly?
I don't know. I've never talked about it or mentioned it, even though I know the stat, because I don't want to jinx myself. But I've played all my 5-setters here at this tournament, actually. I don't think I've played a 5-setter outside of this tournament. So I've been fortunate to get through all of them so far.
What's the physical demands of it like 5-set tennis? Matches like that can go for 4 or 5 hours. How is it concentration? How do you pull up? How do you recover, prepare? Has that been an eye-opener for you?
Sometimes the biggest thing for me personally, I try not to think that far ahead in the match. Sometimes I found myself after a really hard first set thinking, if I play a 5-set. This is going to be tough if every set's like this. And, I try not to think like that just because there's a long way to go. After a first set, you don't know if it's going to be straights or could go 5. And, I find myself in these matches when I just focus point to point, after a little while, I'll find myself in a 4th or 5th before I even know it. And it kind of takes away that extra, I guess, thoughts of, how am I going to last in this match if it's a super physical match, or, how am I going to feel after this? So I think just not thinking that far ahead has been great for me, just to kind of stay focused on what's at hand.
Again, though, that is a kind of a remarkably mature approach for someone who is so young. Is that something that you've worked on with a mindset coach or anything like that?
Not really. I think it's more of a personality thing, honestly. I think I've always approached things pretty logically, pretty rationally. So I've been fortunate, having a level head has really helped me a lot, especially kind of starting off playing in these bigger events and all of that. So I think personality-wise, it's just worked out for me.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier in the interview about you're playing with pressure or putting pressure on yourself. The next gen finals that you won last year, you were, I think, the only player in the top 100, and you were expected to win going there. And so there's been examples of players that have decided not to play next gen and others that have. What was the thinking there to play that event, and how satisfying was it to ultimately win when you were the top seed and the highest ranked player there?
Yeah, it was on my schedule all year. I never really considered not playing it. It was just kind of, I knew, at the end of the season, I'm just going to go and play. So when the other guys started dropping out, I didn't really think anything of it. I guess I hadn't been a top seed in a tournament for almost a year at that point. So it's a little bit different than what I was used to. I mean, even being seeded in, tour events is new to me. So being the top seed and ranking-wise a heavy favorite was a bit different for me. I think it was really good for me to experience, because obviously that's the goal, to be favored in these bigger tournaments and to, have your ranking to where you're seated high. So I think it was great, experience for me, and I'm very glad I was able to, win that event. I remember in juniors when I was younger and I would be the top seed and even playing tournaments that I had won before, and coming back the next year having that pressure of trying to defend that. I think all those opportunities have been great for me, and it's almost just, a unique experience to have, I guess. And I see myself as fortunate to be seen as a favorite, and I don't feel like it adds too much pressure on me.
For sure. And also, there's such a great history of champions at that tournament. So Tsitsipas, Alcaraz, Sinner, they've all won it. You've added your name to that list, and I guess it's a great boost because it comes at the end of the year. It's a bit of a spring. Oh, Fonseca was another one that won it, and it kind of always seems to put players in the right direction or on the right trajectory. Do you feel that it's been like a confidence boost for you and it's helped you start this year?
Yeah. The year before when I played, I came straight from Jeddah to Hong Kong and then Hong Kong to here. This year, I think all the tournaments started a week later, so I went home for Christmas week before coming to Brisbane. So I had a little bit more of a reset. The year before, it felt almost like the start of my next season, just because I went straight and finished the Australian swing just in one go. So this year, I mean, it felt a little bit different just because I had a bit of a reset. Obviously, I was able to end the year with 2 titles back-to-back. So, I mean, obviously that's a huge confidence boost for me. But it felt, kind of an in-between, between the last tournament of the year and the first tournament of the new year. So, obviously a big confidence boost, but I haven't really thought of how to categorize it.
Yeah, kind of in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah.
You are coached by Michael Chang. What has he brought to your game?
I mean, I think we've worked on pretty much everything. And I would think that, pretty much everything has improved since we started working together. It's been great to have him. He really does everything for me as that you could possibly imagine. I think he'd do pretty much anything just to give me a slightly smaller chance to win a match. And, I'm very grateful to have him by my side. Obviously, I've been doing, I've taken pretty big strides since we started working together. So I've really enjoyed it, and I think he sees my game very well, and he's able to pick and choose things that I need to improve, and he has a good eye for stuff like that, and so it's really been great.
Amazing. Have you watched much of him play? Like YouTube, gone back and looked at what he's done?
Not really, not really. I mean, I was saying this the other day, but as a joke, but genuinely, I haven't really been able to find much film from when he was playing.
Okay.
Interesting.
On our YouTube channel, maybe. He made the final here 30 years ago.
I'm not sure he'd want me to watch that.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that tournament, maybe not the final itself. But okay. Oh, well, we'll see what's out there.
Well, just to finish, I guess, what does success look like for you in season 2026?
I'm just trying to improve. I think the results that I want will come with just putting my head down and trying to improve the things that need work. Improving my strengths, improving my weaknesses, and all around just getting better as a player. And I think with more time and experience, all of it will come together. And I think the rankings results will all come.
Amazing.
Fabulous. Well, good luck with that, and thank you for joining us today on The Sit Down.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.